Hello, most of you already know me, but my name is Tucker Ring. Today I'm going to be showing you how to assess students using the blue Birgance, which specifically focus on transition skills inventory. The tools that you will need are the transition skills inventory test book, as well as a record book that each student will have their own individual copy. For example, the student that I assessed was named Jane Doe. For this, I assessed her once, but I can keep on assessing her using the same record book. The Blue Birgance, or Transition Skills Inventory, is a comprehensive collection of research-based, age-appropriate assessments that support formal transition planning for students with special needs preparing for life after high school. The TSI helps special education teachers, program directors, and transition specialists address the following IDEA requirements for transition planning. It helps administer age-appropriate transition assessments, helps identify student strengths and transition service needs, as well as helps you develop IEPs that include a student's present level of performance measurable by post-secondary goals and recommendations on how to meet those goals. Assessments in the TSI cover a broad range of knowledge and skills important for successful transition into adult life. Key skill areas are clustered within 4 domains: academic skills, post-secondary opportunities, independent living, and community participation, which align with IDEA guidelines. For academic skills, the academic assessments that are within this area are reading grade placement, listening and speaking skills, functional writing skills, and math skills. For post-secondary opportunities, this right here will assess students' job knowledge in job-related areas such as interests and choices, job-related writing skills, job-related knowledge and skills, communication and technology skills. For independent living, students will be assessed on their food knowledge, clothing, housing, money and finance, health, and transition and transportation. For community participation, this area will assess students for their community resources, community science, and citizenship. The Birgance Transition Skills Inventory Assessment consists of assessments that are criterion referenced and include customizable IEP objective statements that correspond to skill or skills covered in the assessment. Many of the assessments include multiple assessment methods to address a range of students' abilities and skill levels. For example, some students are not able to write their responses, so they can just verbally respond with an oral response. Or if students are higher functioning, they can simply just write out their answers if they are able to. The record book, which I already showed you, provides a record keeping and tracking system that is ongoing, specific, graphic, and easily interpreted. Let me show you something amazing. This is the Transition Skills Inventory record book. Inside, you will see areas that you can give your students personal information right here. You will also see different areas where you can assess the student different times. For example, I only assessed the student once, so I used a pencil. But if I assess my student a second time or a third time, possibly a fourth time, I will use a different color when assessing my student so I won't get mixed up with my answers and it will be easy to interpret the results. Now, enough of that boring stuff. Let me get straight down to the nitty-gritty, and this is the moment that you guys have all been waiting for. Let me show you an example of how to give an assessment from the Birgance Transition Skills Inventory. I'm first going to show you how to give an assessment in the academic grade level reading assessment. So I'm going to turn my book to the pages that focus on academic reading level grade placement tests. Right here, you will see there are 2 sides of the assessment. On this side, you will see everything that the student will need. And on this side, where I am on my side, closest to me, is all the information that I will need, or this person giving the assessment will need. When you are on the right assessment that you want to give to the student, you want to turn your record book and turn to the same page to write down the student's responses. So right here, I'm doing word recognition grade placement test. I'll turn to that page, and it's the first page in my record book. When giving the assessment, you now want to have your record book personally right in front of the student where they can see you writing down her responses. You want to have it covered out of the way so they are not distracted when you are writing down her responses. When I'm ready to begin the assessment is already scripted, so when I tell the student to begin, I will say, read these words in the list aloud. Start with the first word in the list, pointing to that first word. For each response, I will circle each correct answer and underline the ones that she got wrong. I will also, the directions also say, do not give any help sounding out the words. So if she's struggling with the words, I can't help her. I can just say, move on, or until she gets the word correctly. I will continue this assessment until a student is unable to pronounce 5 of the 10 words for a grade level. As I stated earlier, you will want to discontinue this assessment when the student is unable to pronounce 5 of the 10 words in each column. I will start with column 1 and have her go down each column saying the word aloud. Let's say she's in column 3 and she misses 2 words, complete and danger. That's okay because she didn't miss more than 5. But as we go on to the following column, let's say she misses apply, harmful, license, responsible, and schedule. That's more than 5. But I will not stop her when she misses more than that 5th number. I will stop her at the very end of the column and I'll say, good job, Jane Doe, you did a great job. We're done with this assessment. Now let me show you the record book for this assessment. As I stated earlier, you will circle all the correct answers that the student said, and you will underline the incorrect responses. Down here at the bottom is a portion where you can write your notes that you might have any important information referring to this assessment and how the student performed. Now I'm going to give you an example of a transition living assessment. For this example I'm about to show you, focuses on money and finance. There are 2 ways that you can give this assessment. You can have the student respond orally to the questions, or you can make a copy of this page and have them write down their answers within the blank spot. For this assessment, I had the student respond orally to the questions. The directions for orally say, read each incomplete statement, then tell me the correct answer. Example, 1 nickel equals how many pennies? The student will respond verbally with how many pennies are in 1 nickel. I will give credit for each correct response within the answer or record book. For this one, I just circled for each correct response and underlined for each incorrect response. Now that I've given you some insight about the Birgance Transition Skills Inventory and provided you with some examples of how to assess a student, here are some things that you should take into consideration when giving this assessment. 1, you should select the most appropriate skill or skill level within each assessment. Some of the assessments have several skills or a range of grade levels. In order to save time, you should review and evaluate any available student data to determine the most appropriate skill level or grade level for initiating this assessment. You should plan to initiate the assessments at a skill level slightly easier than or 1 grade below the student's anticipated performance. It is important to initiate an assessment at a level that will promote a feeling of success. You should not waste your time assessing skills that are far below a student's performance or skill level, and on the other hand, do not initiate or continue assessment at a level that is too difficult that may frustrate the student. There are also some factors that may impact the performance of the student during the assessment. Some of the factors include a reluctant or refusal to perform, and if this occurs, you can pause the assessment and assess at a later date. There are also poor assessment conditions. You can assess, when assessing your student, you can be assessing in a distracted area, such as, for example, when I was assessing my student, I was assessing her outside the classroom in a quiet area, but some students decided to walk by. My student became distracted, so I paused my assessment and assessed her at a later time. Some language and cultural barriers may arise during the assessment, which may cause some frustration or misinterpretation of the data. Some physical limitations also may arise when giving this assessment, which can impede the performance of the student. That's why you can either have the student orally respond to a question or write down their answers to the responses, whichever may be easier for the student.